I feel jewelry design has incredible rewards because the industry is smaller than a lot of other industries. The work ethic is very strong. Then there is lack of talent. So the industry is very hungry for talent. So there is less competition for kids who want to make jewelry design a career.
Hello and welcome everybody to Career Talks with Mentoria. Our passion is to help you discover yours, and through these webinars and talk shows, we want to give you a realistic understanding of the career you're heading into. The more you know, the more informed the career and educational decisions that you make will be. Today, we're going to have an absolutely amazing conversation on the world of jewelry design and building a career in it. If you want to build a career in this fraternity in jewelry design, this video is for you. We have with us a very, very special guest, Afshan Adlakha, who spent about 25 years in an organization called Jewlex, building and growing in the field of jewelry design. Right, and she's going to ensure that she helps us understand what is the good, bad, ugly of this entire career. So thank you, Afshan, for joining us here today. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here. Yeah. Let's get started. So for the Career Talks with Mentoria series, we always start with an introduction. For the audience that's watching this webinar, Afshan, could you give them a brief introduction about yourself, your career, and so on and so forth?
So I am Afshan Adlakha and I lead the design and innovation at Jewlex. I'm an alumni of accessory design stream from NIFT Delhi. I graduated in 1996. I have also done a course in gem testing from Gem Testing Lab Jaipur. I am a green belt in Six Sigma. And I've done extensive research and training in design thinking. It's my pet subject and to me a way of life. I've recently done a global leadership program at Harvard University. So I was initially from a very small town in Haryana, and I did my college in Delhi. And I was pretty much looking for a job in Delhi, and I was waiting because I wanted to stay near my parents. And then I happened to win a design competition at that time in 1997, which made me come to Bombay. And I just absolutely loved the culture and the people and the work ethic of the city. And the rest is history. So that's how I shifted to Bombay. And now I'm leading product development, R&D and design at Jewlex. I've been doing so for 25 years now. We have a team of 300 plus professionals in our team working in design, CAD, technical drawing, model making, innovation. And my endeavor as a leader is to facilitate learning and innovation in the company and create a culture that fosters everyone to be more creative and have more fun together and make some wonderful products. I had actually applied for fashion design. I'd given the NIFT entrance test. And at that time, there was a common entrance test. I believe even now there's a common entrance test in which they gauge what our skills are more suited for. And they gave me accessory design, and even then I told them, why didn't you give me fashion design? And they said, your strengths are more suited towards accessories, and I took it at that. And in accessories also there are many avenues. There is footwear, there is handbags, and there is I guess window design, and there is jewelry, and then there is precious jewelry, costume jewelry. So I ended up in jewelry because I was a hardcore animal lover, and I never wanted to work in leather, and shoes being my prime passion. But shoes were mainly, the whole industry was focused around leather, and so were handbags. So as a choice, I opted for jewelry, and thankfully got drawn into precious jewelry, and here I am then. So I have no regrets. I'm happy that whatever happened in my life steered me towards a very, very fulfilling career. Right, so Jewlex is a vertically integrated diamond jewelry company. By that, what I mean is that from the raw material to retail, we have everything in-house. So we are a DTC site holder. We've been so since 1973. So we have more than 50 years of pedigree. We create, we buy the rough from DTC, we cut that rough in our factories, and we sell that rough. From the rough, we make faceted diamonds, and we sell those in the market. And we also use those diamonds in our jewelry. So we create fine diamond jewelry, and we have associate offices in US, Europe, Australia, Hong Kong, China, Dubai, and we sell to retailers all over the world. So we say we are a vertically integrated diamond jewelry company. Our core values are innovation, integrity, excellence, and care. So these values guide us in our business strategy, our plans for the future, and also in our day-to-day running and execution of our operations. Our team has now 44 patents and thousands of copyrights. So I think why people don't choose jewelry as a career is because as a student, when we think of design, it's all about the glamour of fashion shows, and fashion has more glamour. Fashion styling, fashion communication. Then in scope and size, the physical scope of our product is very small. You're supposed to be creative in the size of a postage stamp. Whereas if you see architecture, if you see interiors, if you see fashion, the visibility and the physical scope of the product is large. So the visibility is more. You can look at a person walking and gauge what brand they are wearing. In jewelry, you can't do that because the product size is small. Then I think the raw materials, especially in fine jewelry, are so expensive that it's very difficult for people to pass out of college and create a brand of their own. Many students, they want to launch their own brands, which becomes extremely difficult in precious jewelry unless you have like really strong backing, or your mom or dad is a jeweler or is a diamond merchant. It's very difficult to launch your own brand. So that also restricts quite a lot of people in coming into jewelry. Then I believe the location of the industry. The industry is focused in mainly 3 to 4 key centers in the country. So that is also restrictive. Like you can't really just about go anywhere and have a career in jewelry design. Then I think jewelry design is not like a one-man show. It's a very collaborative, it's a team sport, and so you need to be working where the team of people is. So you need to be in the centers where those teams are, where the workmen are, where the diamond sourcing is. So flexibility of location also creates a bit of hindrance for people to choose jewelry design. Then because our industry deals with very expensive raw materials, we have a lot of restrictions of carrying cell phones inside, of checking of your bags and shoes when we come out. Now these are not only for our industry. These happen in many different industries. If you work in NASA, you will have to follow the rules of NASA. If you work in a power plant, you will have to follow the rules. But those sometimes become hindrances for people to enter the industry. So those are the things that on the reward side, I feel jewelry design has incredible rewards because the industry is smaller than a lot of other industries. The work ethic is very strong. Then there is lack of talent. So the industry is very hungry for talent. So there is less competition for kids who want to make jewelry design a career. Then the travel. For me, travel is the biggest factor. If you especially work in diamond jewelry export houses, there is so much travel that you can do all over the world. Then of course financial gains. I think people in jewelry design are paid quite well, and most of all is because we don't have lots of companies. We don't have people who are fly-by-night operators. We are not a corporate environment where you join today, you work for a year, you leave. It doesn't work like that. It takes 2-3 years to just specialize and understand your client or your market. So we are all sort of a family. The whole industry is sort of a family, and you will be looking at a life where you grow up together. You are with the same people for 25, 30, 40 years. You make wonderful relationships, and you have sort of a second family, always standing by for you and backing you up. So those are a few things I feel that for me make it a very rewarding career. I think unless you've grown up in a jeweler family or are absolutely passionate about jewelry, and you only want to do that thing in your life, I would advise you to not start out with any specialization in mind. See, while learning, one should try and get as vast as an experience as possible. So opt for a college or an institute where the first couple of years you just get basic foundation in design, and you get inputs in product design, design thinking, user experience, space design. Specialization should come a lot later. A lot later. Uh, Specializing too early hinders your learning and your growth as a designer. That's what, in my opinion. So go for something which gives you a more vast experience, and then later, once you are really sure you've tried out everything and you feel yes, this is something I would love to do day in day out every day of my life, then you think of specializing in jewelry design. And if you want to specialize in jewelry design, then yes, like any other field, there are lots and lots of specializations. In our field, there are material based specializations, like whether it's fine jewelry or costume jewelry or colored stone jewelry. Then there are market based specializations. So we have, for example, in my team, I have creative sorry about that, I have created design heads for Australia, for uh, US bridal, US fashion, for Europe, for India, for Middle East. So you can specialize on what market you are catering to. Then there are category based specializations like fashion or bridal, or those large Indian type of necklaces and bangles and kadas, or men's rings. Then there are technique based specializations, like casting or CNC jewelry or 3D printed jewelry or stamping. Or in India, we have beautiful techniques like kundan, meenakari, filigree, temple jewelry. So technique wise, you can just get into a lot of detail and specialize in any technique. But my sincere advice would be to look at it at a much later phase in your life, and start with design being your prime area of learning and passion. So one specializes purely by training and by working in that field. There will not be an institute that would train you for diamond jewelry or for kundan jewelry or for filigree jewelry. It would depend on what field you choose after one graduates, and what area you work in. Say in our company, we have so of course, as a fresh designer, one has potential to get into any field. If today I leave jewelry design and I want to do architecture, it would take me some years to understand the nuances of that field and become a master. But yes, the basic foundation is there for me to do that. Same way in jewelry, the institutes will give you a solid basic foundation. Beyond that, what you specialize in will depend upon your passion for learning that certain technique, and depend on the company that you work in. The more you work in a field, the more specialized you will get. Markets absolutely define your specializations, because ultimately design is not for yourself. Design is for somebody else. Any design, it's for the end consumer. So you need to know your end consumer very well. And although I believe the whole world essentially is run on the same basic emotions of love and family, and all the basic emotions all across the cultures are the same. But women, their role in their family, the work that they do is very different. And what ornamentation, the importance of ornamentation. Say for example, in India, you have Mangal Sutras. If you want to design for India, you need to know what kind of Mangal Sutras Indian women wear, or the changing face of Indian women. How many brides now are opting for engagement rings and maybe not Mangal Sutras. If you're supplying to an American jeweler, you 100% need to know the American consumer very well. So it was easy for me because I grew up uh, watching the serials and the movies, Hollywood movies, and reading books of American authors. So the more insight you have in the American consumer, the better you will know what problems the American consumer has and how you can solve them as a designer. So say American women, probably the most expensive thing they buy in their lives is the engagement ring. So you are needs to know the value of an engagement ring for an American woman. So as a designer, one is expected to be the design owner or the design creator. So there's a lot of sketching. There's a lot of sketching involved. And if one does not like sketching, I feel then they would always be at the back foot in our field. Of course, now you have Corel Draw, you have many tools to design better, but sketching is a basic skill that one needs to have. And there's a lot of research, online research, trend research, market research, consumer research. Then one would have to go through training in a lot of areas, which is manufacturing, sourcing, diamond qualities, what gemstones do we use, what are the gemstones, what are their colors, maybe not very in depth, but definitely overall training. Then pricing, what kind of raw materials are there, how do you calculate the price of a piece, how do you calculate the labor of a piece, and design processes. So you would get a brief from your design head or from your senior, and one would need to do research and come up with new ideas and designs based on that brief. So a lot of mood boards, form generation, ideation, sketching, then 3D rendering, like colored rendering. Again, now you have programs to do that. So we have designers who do hand sketching, hand rendering. We also have designers who do it in Corel Draw. Then one would need to know technical drawing and make presentations in PowerPoint or portfolios or movies, and visit to trade shows, say Las Vegas or Hong Kong. Maybe that would be a designer's role. So as you become more senior, you become a creative design manager, where you are leading a team of designers and CAD people and technical draftsmen, and then you become the product owner. So each product you and your team makes becomes your baby, and you need to know how to be a team leader, how to handle a team of creative people. One needs to be in a lot of client meetings, understand what the client needs, and come and communicate that to the team, facilitate a lot of brainstorming, a lot of creative discussions, and then travel a lot to your markets, travel to your shows, travel for client meetings. Nowadays, we have a lot of virtual meetings all the time with our customers. Then a lot more market research and white space analysis. Then you come up with, okay, this is the opportunity that I see in my customer for this price point and this category. And then you guide your team to make designs on that brief. And then one needs to guide the 3D construction of the piece. So one needs to be technically very sound, and we need to make the CADs, then make the final samples, and then ship those samples to the customer and hope for a hit. So that becomes that maybe in 5 years one would be coming into this profile. Like a brief is generally a design need. Okay, so the customers are for us, the customers are retailers. Retailers say from sitting in India, if say I am designing for say a Benbridge in US or a Zales in US, so the buyer of Zales will be my customer. So these buyers are dealing with normally design teams from across the world, and they are buying products from China, from India, from Italy, from different places. And we would talk to the buyers, understand what their needs are, or maybe make trend books on our own or trend boards, send them to the buyers and ask them, okay, do you think this makes sense? Do you think we should expand on this? So they become our customer, and their end customers are the consumers. So they give us the design need, or we create the need looking at the trends, and we go and collaborate with them and then make a design brief. Okay, this is, suppose somebody says, okay, I want heart pendants and I want them in $200 or $300 or $299. then we backward work and we say, okay, if it's $299 at retail, how much should it be at our cost? Then in our cost, what all goes in a diamond heart pendant? So you have a certain amount of diamonds, you have a certain amount of gold, and then you will have your factory labor costs of making that pendant, the gold loss, and that's how you derive on your cost. So based on that, you tell the designers, okay, just put 5 cents of diamonds in this piece and make sure it has to be 1 gram of gold. So don't make it too big. You understand? I mean, I'm trying to explain it in a basic,
Absolutely.
simple language. So if one is located in India, the good news is that India is the hub of diamond jewelry, and we are, I think, the biggest or maybe the second biggest jewelry manufacturing country in the world. So if you are in India, then there are a lot of choices. You can either work for a diamond jewelry export house like I do and come to Seats or come to Bombay basically and work from here. Then you can work for larger Indian jewelers. They are based in Jaipur, they are based in Bangalore, Chennai, Kochi. So work for the larger Indian jewelry chains. Then you can work for design brands like Farah Khan, Poonam Soni. You could work for Indian retail brands like Tanishq, Carrot Lane, Amrapali, Bluestone. You could work for costume jewelry brands like Isharya, Tribe, Outhouse. You can start your own costume jewelry brand. I would not advise students to start your own precious jewelry brand because the sheer amount of investment and risk in that is very high. So yes, later on in your life, once all your learning gives you enough confidence and ammunition and finance to start your own precious jewelry brand, yes, you can do that as well. So the single biggest skill would be, I believe, observation and empathy with everybody that you observe. So always think of why some, and curiosity. How do door hinges work? How do our knees work? How do the cars work? So observe and take everything in as a sponge, uh, and then again, read as much as you can read. I think that reading and taking in all kinds of inputs in terms of world cinema. See, it's also, so as we read and we watch a lot of things while growing up, that gives us a world view and a wider perspective that nobody can take away from us later in life. And you cannot get it later in life if you've not done it as a child. So although I'm sure all your parents would be telling you that read, but it really is important. I think it improves your imagination and it gives you a very vast, very wild worldview. Yeah. Then another thing is sketch. Please sketch as much as you can. And by sketching, I would not say take drawing courses or things like that. By sketching, I'm saying, look, whatever you see, try and sketch it. Whatever, like an apple or a sofa or a machine or a spoon, anything. The more, when we are sketching something, we automatically taking more details. And being a designer means being very detail oriented, very, very detail oriented. So the more you sketch, the more you train your mind to become more detail oriented. Then I would say any workshop in design thinking, if you can do, don't lose a chance to do it. Like a 2-day workshop, a week's workshop, anything like that. That would prepare you to kickstart your design career. So there are many. NID and NIFT are two very, very good design institutes in India. And even now, we look for students, when we look for fresh designers or good talent, we would want to look at these two institutes first. So you have NIFT Gandhinagar, which specializes in jewelry. You have NIFT Hyderabad, that's doing very well. NIFT Calcutta specializes in jewelry. Then we have MIT Pune. We have the Srishti School of Design in Bangalore. We have NID. NID uh, is more focused on design process, product design, innovation, but it gives great education in design. NID is also in Gandhinagar. Then SNDT Mumbai has a course in jewelry design. Then we have IIGJ Mumbai that purely has a course in jewelry design. It's much more technically sound. It's collaborating with the seeds industry. So that's a good course. And we have Pearl Institute of Design Jaipur. So these are some of the Indian design colleges, and I think all of them have entrance exams. NID, NIFT have central entrance exams. Then I feel that there are a lot of options for kids to study abroad. Suppose you do a 3-year course in NIFT or a 4-year course in NID, then you can go abroad to do a 1-year master's or specialization as well, 1 or 2 years. So there is Rhode Island School of Design, there is Parsons School of Design, FIT in New York. My only experience of international education has been Harvard, and I feel that it gives you a whole new perspective about because you are exposed to students from so many different places, and it gives you a completely new exposure and a different perspective about each and every aspect. And whatever I have experienced, so NIFT is affiliated with FIT. So it was very different from the education one would get in a regular college. Everything was project driven. Everything was like a 1-month project where you interacted, you did research, you went out in the field, you created with your own hands. So it was extremely collaborative, extremely research oriented, and one had to work in groups. So that is also something that I saw when I went to Harvard. So other than that, I wouldn't have much, difference. I wouldn't know exactly how they are different, because I believe NID and NIFT are also following the same philosophy of education. So I think as soon as you can, really, and if you are the right, if you love design as a child, you would have already started probably, because it's so one has to be one has to be creative as a child, and while growing up, and you must have done enough creative projects. So start making them, start recording them, start putting them in your portfolio. Don't just throw away your paintings, your sketches, or whatever you've done while growing up. Start your portfolio as soon as you can. It will help you in your admissions in the colleges. It will help you keep a record of, and it will help you come back to your portfolio even as a professional to get more ideas about things that inspired you as a child. So I would say that try and record every creative project that you've done ever. I'll tell you certain attributes that one should have. I think I have already mentioned a few of them before. That observation and be like a sponge, curiosity, and a growth mindset. Never think that, oh, I don't, which I believe I also did earlier, that never think that I don't know, I'm not a math person, I'm not a physics person, oh, I can't do this. Everything can be done. You just have to have the learning mindset. So when we say, oh, I'm not good at this, we hinder our own growth. So a growth mindset is very important for a designer, because you might need to learn a lot of different skills as you grow in your profession. Then critical thinking, empathy. The lesser the ego, the better. The lesser the ego, the more we can observe really what is important for the other people and design better. Then passion for making stuff with your hands, like that one would have seen while growing up. Communication skills are what you need to develop, verbal as well as written, as well as presentation communication. Like one needs to know, I mean, even if you don't know Photoshop and PowerPoint and Corel at the beginning of your journey, but by the time you graduate from college, you should know that, because that's very important. Making your portfolio, presenting your work is almost as equally important as your work, right? So, and then collaborative working with teams. So these are all attributes you can try and grow in yourself. Then there are skills that the colleges will teach you, say like sketching. So the when we joined NIFT, the first couple of months we were just drawing. You won't believe that the first week we just drew circles, 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 circles the whole day. Then lines, lines, lines. But that was, I mean, at that time we were like, what the hell are we doing? But that gave us a lot of control over our own hand, which is important. Sometimes, you could have the most wonderful ideas, but sometimes your skill stops you from showing that idea or communicating that idea ahead. So it should not be that your mind thinks much faster than much better or bigger than what your hands can draw. So sketching is a basic skill the institute should teach you. Then creative thinking, making mind maps, design thinking tools and skills. Then the institutes will teach you about 2D drawing, 3D drawing, colored rendering, how to render diamonds, how to render rubies. All this the institutes will teach you. Then form, balance of form and space, formal education in design and design tools and processes. Then creating mood boards, then history of art, history of fashion, a history of jewelry, process and techniques of jewelry making. All these things I think a good institute should be able to teach you. Trend research and white space analysis. Then CAD softwares, which are JewelCAD or Rhino or Matrix. Corel software, Photoshop, PowerPoint. A little bit of model making, and working with plaster of Paris, working with wax, working with metal. So different materials and how to manipulate them. I think that all the institutes should be able to teach you. The most rewarding aspect for me has been the people and my relationships with them. So I always feel that jewelry industry is like a family, because it's a relatively smaller industry. One gets to know everybody because we meet them in all the shows. We meet them when we go for client meetings, when we are going to our offices. So it's the feeling of belonging to a family, and the people and the relationships, that's extremely rewarding to me personally. And then the travel, it's a very exciting part. Of course, it's almost, it gets to be too much sometimes, and one has to put their foot down to have a balanced life and a balanced career. But travel, for somebody who loves travel, jewelry industry will give you a lot of exports. Jewelry, if you join the export part of it, it will give you a lot of chance to travel. Then financial growth is a rewarding factor. I think the industry pays relatively well. Then being among the best in class. So I had a choice. I mean, I could have done architecture, and I told you how I got nudged into jewelry design, or I could have done law. But if I had to start as a lawyer, there are millions and millions of lawyers, I would be one among millions. But because jewelry industry is small and India is at the forefront of it, from day one you are working with the best in class, which is extremely rewarding, because the kind of learnings you do, the kind of competitiveness, the kind of work pressure, it really accelerates your learning. And I think that's also very rewarding, because you know the who's who. I mean, it's a smaller arena, and you're already working with the best in class. So that's also great. And the whole process of learning and growing, from a designer to a design head, to a product development head, to the head of product development and innovation. And I know I have friends who become eventually CEOs, or who are who have gone into merchandising and are merchandising heads. So your growth is only dependent on yourself in our industry. So the more you learn, you can grow to whatever level. hard parts are, first, that it's a very small industry. There are maybe 200 to 250 companies in the country that would probably employ jewelry designers. So, as you grow in your career, the opportunities become lesser and lesser. So it is not too many places that you can go to. Like if I'm a CA or if I'm a lawyer, I can. There are many firms I can move to. In jewelry industry, the industry is very small. So there is, as you grow, if you get into a good company where you have a chance of growth there, it's good. Otherwise, one gets into a rut of jumping jobs eventually, which run out because it's a relatively smaller industry. Second thing, which is a tough challenge about jewelry industry, is the location. There are only 3 to 4 centers. There is Bombay, there is Jaipur, maybe Bangalore and Chennai, where the whole, or and Surat now. So where the whole industry is clustered. So if one say dreams of working from a beach in Goa, or like I dreamt of staying near my parents, but that was not an option in this industry. You have to move where the industry is. Then, because we are dealing with raw materials, some people find our work culture and our rules a little bit tougher than other industries. Say, for example, most of the people who come, the first question they'll ask me is, do you have 5-day week or 6-day week? And yes, we still have 6-day week. So we are working where we are giving 2 Saturdays off. But most of the industry still has 6-day week. They will max have 2 Saturdays off. So that's a little different from the other corporate options that one has. Then limitation of launching your own brand after you pass out of college. That's a limitation in precious jewelry industry. I would not advise anyone to do that because the sheer resources you need financially are humongous. Then there is less glamour and visibility versus fashion design or architecture or even space design. Then the growth curve initially is long. Like most of the kids I interview, they want to double their salaries in the first year or the second year. I don't know, but I don't think that happens in any career. So that if you have the perseverance to give the first few years to the industry, then there's a lot of financial success. But if one is just expecting, so sometimes I see students failing. Why? Because they expect that in the first year they'll learn everything, second year they'll be the hero, then they'll be double triple their salary, and then fourth year they'll be the design head. I don't think that is realistic in any career. You have to give your first 2-3 years of hard work, and you need to learn and imbibe as much as you can, and then you start delivering to any organization. So those are the little bit of downsides. Touchwood, the pandemic has not touched us as an industry as much as it has really damaged a lot of other industries. So the industry continues to do well. The good part was, very few companies were really cutting salaries during the pandemic. Another good part was we were forced to do flexi working hours and work from home. So that was a new thing that, so we have had people working from Delhi and Bangalore full time for a few years now. We have tried people working from out of town. We have been trying to make it work. So during the pandemic, almost everyone had to get into that mode of remote working and working from home. So we realized that there are a lot more functions where this is possible, where we can work from home and we can do flexi hours. So that's a benefit to people working in the industry. Then I believe that most organizations in the jewelry industry stood by their people during this time and are doing a lot to help their people during the pandemic, which is very good. That for the first time probably the whole industry's focus was people first, and what do we do about our workforce, because we have the workforce from karigars to to staff, and lots of people are employed by our industry, and lots of people who came from out of town. So people were running back to their villages, or people are quarantined, or they are quarantined but they live with 10 different people, they have nowhere else to go. So the company has started focusing a lot more on the people's you know problems and how to handle those first. So that's how I feel it is. Of course, all our client meetings have become virtual. Our travel has completely come to a standstill for the time being, which is also good because earlier we had to travel a lot for every meeting. Now the whole industry has learned that yes, you can have meetings equally, you know, good meetings without being face to face. I feel there's a lot of scope in India. Absolutely, I've already said it a few times that we are at the forefront. We are supplying diamond jewelry to almost every country in the world, and so the industry is very good and hungry for talent. There is some scope outside, I would say, because of course, say one needs merchandisers and one needs experts in the field out there also. There is expert. I've seen people working very well in US, in Dubai, in Hong Kong. So all the jewelry centers, I'm sure there is a lot of scope for designers in all of them. So I think now people are a lot more aware. Like even I think I did this like 30 years back. I went to NIFT. So I feel that the first thing the parents have to do is do not treat design as a plan B or a plan C. Do not think अरे engineering नहीं किया, MBA नहीं किया, IT में नहीं गया तो चलो design तो है ही. It's not everybody's cup of tea, and it's not to be treated like a plan B when you don't get the first thing that you want to aspire to be. Take pride in your child's accomplishments in the creative field, as much pride as you do in the academic field. So always try and encourage your kids if they are bent towards the creative field. Take equal pride and encourage them in that area. Then try and do more research on the professionals in the field of design, the job opportunities, the salary scales, so that you yourself know and are confident that yes, this is a field that my child can go into and have a successful life or a successful career in. And try and get your kids to meet interesting people in that field. I think there's no better way than to really talk to people who are in that field and understand their perspective, and try and get them small little internships wherever you can. If you have friends who are photographers, try and get your kids to do a little photography workshop with them. If your friends are working in or are fashion designers, try and just send your kids in summer vacations to just work for free, because the experience they gain will be priceless. I have already said it before. I mean, I'll just repeat myself that first is be curious, keep observing in your family, see how does your mom wear jewelry, how does your aunt wear jewelry, what are their problems, what kind of things they like, what they don't like. Be as curious and as good at observation as you can be, because just be like a sponge, that you have to soak in everything, because you don't know when it will come back and when you will be able to use it. And be detail oriented. If you get into something, try and do your best in that. And I think probably all this is for every career it is the same, but especially in design, that try and get into the details. Try and see how things work, try and analyze that. Be very, very mindful of the things that you let come inside your brain. What are the books that you're reading? What kind of TV are you watching? What kind of exposure are you giving to your own mind? I think that's very important. Be like the guardian of your mind. Don't watch. I would not advise. So I think the mind has or your time is finite. You need to see what you put into your mind or what you expose yourself to during that time, and work with your hands as much as you can. I'm now learning pottery, and I feel that the more I learn, the more I realize I don't know, but the more it is impacting my work. Because I mean, any kind of new activity you learn sparks these creative impulses in your brain that you otherwise wouldn't have. So try and do as many things as you can with your hands, and try and volunteer for whatever, because the new experiences that you gain will always add to your personality and add to your uh, later your performance. So many times we look at people and we are like, wow, they talk so well, because when they were growing up, they were in an environment where they could imbibe so much that they can talk well, right? So the things you imbibe will really, nobody can take those away from you, and they will always give you a vast perspective in your job and in your career and in your life. I think that's it. I think probably the same gyan all the kids will be getting from their parents as well.
We're now opening up to audience questions.
What are the job opportunities for jewelry design?
So there are lots and lots of job opportunities. Currently, the industry is facing such a a time or a growth phase where everybody needs talent in PD. So I think the job opportunities are a lot. It's just that you have to be at the right place. It is not in every city in India. You will need to come to the place where the jobs are, which is right now I mean, I feel there are jobs in Surat, there are jobs in Bombay, there might be jobs in Bangalore. I'm not sure of other places.
The main question that I wanted to ask you, that currently I am doing production engineering from BJTI. The reason I took up the stream was to understand the workings and management of a manufacturing setup. So my father is also in the jewelry industry. His name is Shivaji Nakashe. So the reason I took up this stream was to understand the manufacturing setup. But apart from that, I'm really interested in launching my own brand. It could be in costume jewelry or furniture or any other sort of stream that involves art and technology. So my main question was, if I want to take up a design course for masters, because since I've taken production engineering for bachelor's, so how do I kind of guide myself into that? And secondly, how to choose my stream in design if I want to go for masters?
But you want to do masters in product design or in jewelry design?
I haven't decided on a stream yet, so that's what I wanted to ask. So should I go for a more wider design course, or can I do specific like jewelry designing?
So I think with your background in you're doing your bachelor's in manufacturing technology, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So I think that will give you a lot of exposure in the processes and the technologies, and even things like Six Sigma. I suppose you
Exactly,
would be
yeah.
getting a lot of exposure in that. So now for masters would be a time to decide really what you want to go for.
Okay.
If you want to go for product design, then NID could be a good place. If you want to go for jewelry design, then NIFT would be a better place, because they will have more jewelry focused programs. And if you want to go abroad, then again there are many institutes. You could go to like, I'll share the list later here. But you could go for your masters abroad also. There are many. See, the institutes in Europe especially, I feel they are hardcore jewelry manufacturers. They'll make you work on the bench for quite some time. The institutes in India, say NIFT especially, would give you a lot more overview of history of fashion, history of art, trend forecasting, how to take that trend and the raw material and make that into beautiful product. That is what they will teach you. So if you are very sure and your dad is already in the jewelry business, I go for jewelry design then.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
But
And
I
you
would
said
advise to sorry, go on.
I was saying that you said that Europe has a more focused course on jewelry designing, right?
Jewelry design, but more so bench working.
Okay.
Europe is very specific about bench working. So I think that I mean, for you, you already have a lot of years put in the manufacturing part of it already.
Yes, ma'am.
So design and trends and consumer profiling, that would be an area where you probably would not have learned till now. So that's an area where you can get more learning.
Understood. Yeah. And I have another follow-up question actually. Sorry for taking up this much time. But even about internships. So if I want to get in some sort of internship right now in these 4 years of my bachelor's, so how do I go about that?
So most of the companies are open to internships. Actually, we are not open to internships right now because of the pandemic, and everybody is trying to keep even their 50% of their workforce in the office and the rest working from home. But if you send your resumes to all the larger jewelry companies, I'm sure they would be open to giving you internships once
Okay.
the pandemic is over or a little controlled.
All right. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Welcome and wish you all the best.
Hello, ma'am. Good afternoon.
Hi, Joanne.
So, ma'am, I'm currently on the NIFT. So, ma'am, basically, I was thinking that NIFT is for fashion designers because I have heard so many people saying that NIFT is related to the fashion designing, not much to the jewelry design. So,
So it's not like that. There are 15 centers of NIFT, and each center has different streams and they specialize in different things. So, say NIFT Gandhinagar has a very good jewelry program, NIFT Calcutta as well. I am in touch with the NIFT industry. I mean, sorry, I've lost the word, but the person who deals with the industry, and I can find out from him what each NIFT specializes in. See, but the choice is not in our hands. That's the thing. I think one can give their option, but it depends on the ranking, what NIFT center you get. I think the rankings in your in the entrance exam. So, but there are 3-4 centers that are very good, where they specialize in jewelry.
yeah, ma'am, one more question. So, ma'am, for the portfolio, what we can do in jewelry design for the portfolios?
See, I would if you are not in a college right now, I would not advise you to make a. If you're passionate about it, please go ahead and make. If you're forcing yourself to make a portfolio, then I would say do not make a jewelry portfolio. Right now, you're too young. You don't. I mean, just do what you love to do. So, for example, before I went to NIFT, I hated jewelry. I absolutely never wore jewelry, never liked jewelry, and in fact, as a child, I would always make those clay shoes with those clay and the M seal, and I had a huge box full of these shoes, which were like little doll shoes made with clay and hand painted, and I would do toys with clay, and I don't think NIFT ever asked me any question in the whole entrance exam specifically to jewelry, because you are going to a design college where you don't know what stream you will end up eventually liking. So if you have to make a portfolio, make it of your sketches, make it of anything you draw, your colored renderings. Say a good exercise to spark ideas in your brain could be, how does my toothpaste tube look as when it's new? How does it look when it is half done? How does it look when it is fully done? Or how would an apple look if it was converted to a banana? So the apple, then the middle stage, and then the banana. So things like that spark your mind to observe and to then communicate what you have observed or what you have imagined. So make your portfolio like that. The jewelry portfolio will come a lot later, once you have done your course and you specialized in jewelry. Then you will be making a lot more things that are more relevant to the industry.
I was in an international board, so I've done a lot of research work and portfolio work, but I lack in some aspects like Indian patterns and various pattern styling. Like, when you try to style a pattern, when you look into books and draw patterns, it's fine. But when you're trying to imagine a pattern, how do you tackle that?
So there are skills that uh, a college can teach you, or you can teach yourself on how to create forms, how to generate forms. So you can generate forms by tracing a pattern and then modifying it slightly, then by repeating the pattern. So if you take one form, say a circle, and you repeat it in different geometries, you can create a pattern. You can create a spiral pattern, you can create a pattern that goes out in 6 axis. You can create a square pattern that is like 4 circles placed together. you know so these are I think doing a little course on Coursera on how to do form generation, or doing little more research online will help you in that. Nobody has asked me this question, but are you all curious about the salary levels or how much one can earn as a designer, or is that?
You can go ahead and answer that, Afsha. I think it'll only add value.
I think it's important for people to know what is at stake, so that what is in there for them, so that you don't come with the expectations versus the reality. So I think right now NIFT graduates are starting with about 33 to 35,000 rupees per month as salaries. These are fresh graduates from NIFT, and then again, the future growth depends on how quick you learn and how quickly you take responsibility. But I would say in 3 to 5 years, maybe 5 years, one would expect to be 1 lakh plus or so a month. Again, it is how quickly you learn to, from a designer, become a design head or a creative head. It depends on that, and there could be even going up to 3 plus lakhs a month in future.
Okay.
Aparna, where are you doing your degree from? Like, where have you done your bachelor's?
I did from SNDT.
Okay.
Graduated last year, so I had a confusion. Should I start working right now? Actually, I'm currently working in HK Kisna. It's been 2 months, but I'm thinking of studying ahead, quitting the job and studying ahead. So what would be your suggestion?
Okay. Only problem is with the pandemic right now, even if you join a college, they're going to make you, stay in India and study online. So the biggest part of joining a college abroad is the exposure and being there, the atmosphere and the interactions with the students. So I'm not sure how many colleges are open to taking students right now. I would advise you to continue to work for a year or so and think of the masters when the colleges are open to take students, when you have an option of going there and studying versus studying from India, because I think the fees are probably the same, but the experience is very different of studying online.
Thank you so much, Afsha, for these incredible insights. I'm sure that any person wanting to build a career in jewelry design would get a lot of value after listening to your experiences and thoughts. To you watching this podcast, watching Career Talks with Mentoria, thank you for taking the time out. We hope we've been able to give you a deeper understanding of careers in jewelry design. If you have any more questions, feel free to comment below, subscribe to our YouTube channel, write to us on info@mentoria.com, or get on to www.mentoria.com for all the information on careers that you need. If you're unsure about which career you'd like to pursue, head on to our website and begin your journey of career discovery. Thank you and have a wonderful week ahead.